So yeah, guys, we're at the point of our video. We're on the tail end of our segment here, where we're going to conduct for you guys a short writing workshop, kind of highlighting the different points that we discussed throughout the segment. I hope you we provide a lot of different information, a lot of different perspectives, a lot of tips, techniques. I hope this was very helpful for you. So we're kind of going to summarize everything that was discussed through this workshop. So the topic that we're going to work off of is self-reflection. I feel like that's a topic, a concept where you could get really in depth and really kind of flesh out, so to speak, as far as a really intuitive story. We do this. I don't know a person on the earth that doesn't do this from time to time. Self-reflect on what they're doing with their life, the direction that they're going with their life, uh, the mistakes they made, and how they can better themselves, involving their interaction with themselves, their family, the environment around them, and just trying to be a better person all around. So let's start with the main three components that we discussed early on was about developing the concept, in turn creating that world building aspect to it, developing the character, developing that emotional range with that character, and how to design the dialogue. So let's start with just expanding on the concept and how to build a world around that theme. Guys, how do you feel like we can develop that when it revolving around self-reflection? We'll start with you, Sandy.
Well, in terms of self reflection, it's actually timely because we're here at the end of the year, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
concept in terms of world building, again, it goes back to what's the end goal? Where do you want to go with this particular story? So, self reflection. Are you looking to reflect on the year's worth of decisions? Are you looking ahead? In terms of what you're looking at, are you looking at it positively or negatively? Did you accomplish what you wanted to accomplish? Did you have hits and misses? Where are you in terms of that self reflection? For that self reflection, in terms of building the character, you need to surround yourself. You're gonna have to add other characters in there to gauge where you are in terms of your self reflection. So you may want to add a character that's doing better than you are, in your opinion. You might want to add someone who is not doing as well as you. And of course, you're going to need that character that's going to provide you some reality. Might be your mom, it could be your husband, your sister, whoever it may be. But you have to have different ranges of characters to offset your main character and to see where they are, to gauge where they are in terms of that self-reflection. So I'll probably start with that.
So Jay, what are you thinking as far as like the world building aspect? Like for a theme like self reflection, what kind of environment you think would be best to really highlight that theme?
So I agree with Sandy that this is the perfect time of the year to look into writing something like this, right? Because you're looking at everything you've accomplished or didn't accomplish this year, and self-reflection is so personal. I would probably not be able to write it if I didn't speak about my year, right? And about the things I've experienced so throughout this year. And I'm that person that's like all in. So when I'm not writing for children, and I know we've discussed this before, Zeus, I can be a little dark. And I am, inherently a loner. So I'm the person that's like, I will be around people. I will do everything I need to do. But if I need to quiet my mind, if I need to, explore things within myself, I need to do it on a mountain by myself. I need to go on a journey, right? And really feel that. And so for me, it would be more of me taking a journey And, like whether it be a road trip, whether it be, a hotel for the weekend, or, whatever it looks like for the character. And I would write the other characters in as in how my absence is affecting them, right? So not looking at the absence as a positive or a negative, depends on, what it is that you want to write. To me, it's like, okay, I leave a mysterious note for my family. I'll be back. Or, I just need some time. And then looking at what led up to that note being written, right? So thinking about something that happened at work 6 months ago, thinking about, that review that I saw, thinking about amazing sales that I've had, just something that explains why I needed to step out of my daily life and fully experience my own emotions and my own feelings, right? I'm a mom of two. I'm married. My parents live right next door to us. So I'm so many things to so many people. And sometimes you don't have that moment to just quiet out the noise and think about yourself. So for me, it's about getting away from everything that's around, and then meeting that witty gas station attendant that I'm gonna go there every day and buy my can of Chef Boyardee because I really don't feel like seeing the world, right? And stuff like that. But how that affects everyone around me, right? What does that mean for my mother? What does that mean? And then and in doing that, it builds the world of what my character was going through, that she needed to take, off for a little bit. Why she needed to shut down the noise and be by herself. And that's how I would write it. And then you would see whether it was good time passing thinking, or whether it was stressful, kind of like a transcendent moment of whether or not you were going to make a big decision or not make a big decision. But it's just, that's how I would introduce the world.
Really good points from both of you. Just to elaborate even more, I think it probably be even. I think it would be a neat idea too to put in that theme of self reflection based off the environment, where like it's an age old, I guess, concept that you see in books and other types of media, where you have like the angel on one shoulder and you got the devil on the other shoulder, and they're kind of like battling through your head, like, hey, you should do this. No, you should do this. And then you have your rewards or consequences that come with the actions or whatnot. But you can kind of invoke that within the environment with the different people that they interact with, where one can be, or two individuals can be like this angel like figure that's trying to steer them down the right course. Then you might have one or two other characters that's more like the devil and steering them down, like, no, just do what you want to do. Don't worry about nobody else, yada, yada, yada. And then you can expand on really seeing how one can get the rewards, you know, over time if they were patient enough, and see how that turns out versus the consequences of their decisions and the path that they're going down with that as well. And then it culminates with this self reflection, maybe like toward the end of the story, where it allows them to understand, like, look, I definitely made a lot of mistakes here. I could see where I could strengthen my resolve on certain things, but also too, even though some bad things have happened, because of that, I'm a lot stronger now as a person. Now I feel like I can take on adversity a lot better than what I could before. And then that can just help kind of expand with the whole self reflection as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I do agree that whatever setting that you use involving this particular topic, I think you need to make it very personal. I don't think if you did this in any kind of genre, other another type of genre, I don't think you're going to get your point across as much. Or if you pulled elements from other genres, because sometimes when people write, they tend to oversaturate, and they're trying to do too much with their story and add too many different things, thinking that's what is needed to make their story interesting. For something like self reflection, you want it to be more story driven and not all the extra that you got going on, the extra fluff in the background, as it were, to drive your selling point of people to get into your story. This is something where people, when they read it, they should be able to meditate and really kind of like hone in on exactly like what you're trying to do, and the message that you're trying to convey. So with that, you're going to build upon these characters to bring self-reflection to the forefront. So for you guys, how would you go about developing that with the characters? Like, what is it important to have like this big range, wide range of emotions, or are they the way you develop the emotional depth? Is it going to be more like tunneled, like more centered, and not really expanded upon like that? What do you think, Sandy?
I think it depends. The level of emotions depends on the character itself, and their story, their backdrop. You need just enough emotions that's gonna persuade your audience to believe and or like or dislike that character. You don't need a kitchen sink of emotions. You don't need a kitchen sink of examples or background information or hardships. You don't need a kitchen sink. You put in just enough that's going to sell that main character to your audience.
Good point. Less is more. That's pretty much a key that was taught to me. It's like less is more. Sometimes you think, like I was just mentioning, you feel like you got to add all these different elements, and come to find out, I mean, you really didn't need all that. I'm pretty sure you've been to somebody's house for dinner, and it's like, I appreciate you trying to impress me. You know, I see you trying to put your culinary skills to work here, but you did too much in this meal. Like, it's too much going on. Every bite I take, it's just another sensation that I'm feeling. Like, it's just too much going on right now. I don't know if I could finish this meal. So it's kind of like how you look with your story. It's like, that's why I was saying about the editing part. Like, that's why I edit as I go, because I can sense myself as I'm writing. I'm like, man, I'm putting too much, you know? So I'm not even going to finish this story. I'm going to stop and kind of rework some things along here, because I could just feel it. You know, as I'm writing, I'm just like, I'm sensing that, like, nah, I don't think nobody's going to be digging what I'm writing here, man. The story is just too inflated with so much different elements and whatnot. So what do you think, John?
So every book is a journey, right? And you're taking this person who has agreed that in this commitment of reading your book, they've agreed to follow you on this journey, and you want to make it as as concise as possible, but give them the ability to use their imagination. It is so important that they can. They're not look when I'm writing my character, I may describe them, but it doesn't have to look like the character that's in my head. And I want it to be the character that's in your head. I want you to make it your own. I want you to feel this journey. And so it depends on where you're going. If you had a really bad year, right, and you were thinking of running away or thinking of doing something terrible, you're gonna bring them on that journey. uh do you want to end a book with a really really dark ending of something terrible that happened to your main character? No, but you have to think about where you want them to go. And it's like, if I really want, and I will say 2024 was a really stressful year for me for 70% of it, and 30% of it was beautiful and amazing. And what I would do is bring them down that dark path with me. I want them to see, these are the challenges that I have faced this year, and I want them to be part of to see the support from the other people that helped me through those times. And I want them to see where it turns, and kind of, now we're climbing this mountain and we're going up this journey. To me, that message would be, it doesn't matter how dark it is. If you're here, you can continue to fight for a better day. And so it's really where you want to take them, right? I've read books that, damn, they were so depressing that they haunt me to this day. And they were written amazing. Like, I would really read the book again, but my soul has asked me not to for a while because it was so heavy. But it was beautifully written. I don't know that I would want to end a book as dark as that one. I think for me, it would be, guiding you towards the look at everything I went through, and I've made it, and I'm here. And not only am I here, but I'm here to share the story and give you positive reinforcement that it can change, because as long as you are breathing, you can make a better choice tomorrow. You can see a better path tomorrow. So that's what I would do. I would, fine, let's go. Let's go dark. Let's go strong. Let's go deep. And then let's make that turn together. And let's together get out of this hole and see the brighter side and come out to a better tomorrow.
Really good point. How about you, Sandy? Any added thoughts?
No, Jay summed it up nicely. That's exactly what I would do. I don't think there's necessarily so. I mean, living in today's times, I don't know if there's necessarily if it's necessarily bad to end a story. Bad, I don't really like that word, but there's a way to do it. Even if it ends badly, still, what's the lesson? Can we, like Jay said, can we pull something meaningful, some kind of bright light out of that bad ending? I think it's still possible.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I read it. I'm ready with the darkness, you know? Like I
Yeah, we
mentioned
know.
earlier, I got my stairs that are dark, but I think you hit the nail on the coffin right there, so to speak, Sandy. Is like that was my idea or my mindset when I wrote them endings to them stories. Was like, hopefully the reader got the message. Like I did have a message. There was a thought that I wanted you to pick up, like a lesson, basically that could be learned. Unfortunately, the main character didn't learn it or didn't learn it in time, and then it just came out a bad dark outcome. But I'm kind of working around to what you're saying, Sandy, about like not using the word bad. Maybe it's just more like insightful or thoughtful. At the end of the day, we live in the real world. As we mentioned earlier, not everything goes according to plan. So I feel like that's okay to kind of show that in your story, even with something like self reflection, where somebody is actually looking deep inside them to like try to change the course of their life and trying to make things better within their life, but it just didn't work out because unfortunately that's what it is. I know I can speak for myself, especially with my earlier books that I wrote. It was very transparent. Like I really put my soul into them books, into my poetry, where like it was almost like a biography. I was like an open book, just putting everything in there that I was dealing with at that time leading up to me writing them poems. So also too, it's kind of like what kind of writer, what kind of identity you trying to make. If you're going to pull from experience, how transparent you're going to be. I'm not saying you got to actually use people's names and put people on the spot. You know what I mean? Like, Mom Dukes be on some stuff, and I'm going to throw it in there. I'm not saying all that. All I'm saying is just pulling from experience. Maybe you can inject this person's personality. Maybe you know somebody personally that just went through this self-reflection period and they're starting to turn a corner now. They're starting to make things a little bit better for themselves. Maybe you can put that into the story. You never know how that can affect somebody when they read it and they're just like, you know what? I really needed to hear this. Because that's like the best compliment was given to me with like a few poems that I wrote where I'm at an event and people were telling me I needed to hear this. It was almost as you wrote this for me. And I know you don't know me from a can of paint, but your words hit me in such a way where like it really expanded my mind. Like I'm thinking in a different angle, a different perspective. I never looked at it that way, nor did I realize somebody else was going through this. So I appreciate the fact that you was willing and bold enough to even write about that topic and really put yourself out there. Because nobody wants to feel vulnerable, but I feel like that's a part of life too. You know what I mean? Just to bring that honesty factor in. So when it comes to like that emotional range and just developing that character, I think that's very essential is just to bring the honesty factor to it, to that
Right. And
character.
there's tons of tragedies, right? Look at Romeo and Juliet. That didn't end happy for them, but there was an important lesson, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the book I read was like at the end, lots of children died. And like that's what traumatized me. But again, written so well, this book, that, I own the book. I kind of want to revisit it, but at the same time, like, that was dark for my soul. But so when I say, bad, like, it was a stressful ending. I cried for days. And I don't know that there was a message at the end of that. Like, I didn't walk away with kind of the Romeo and Juliet feeling of, just love everybody. Don't tell your children who to love, because you never know who they're going to bring home. You want to keep them happy. So there is that. There is absolutely that balance. But I think that there should always kind of be, especially if you're doing something like self-reflection, where you're saying that somebody feels seen, somebody feels like that, their soul, then we want to kind of leave them with an impression of, no matter how bad today is, there's always tomorrow, or, push for what you believe in, push for your dreams, never give up, something like that. Because if you can really see their soul, and we both know you are dark, but I love you anyway, Zeus. Uh, but
I'm
if they feel
so
like
happy for
that,
that, because I was worried there for a minute.
but but if they feel that, then we want them to see that there's, a little light at the end of that tunnel. They may have to work for it. We all have to work for our own light, but show them that it's there, and it's, they can do that.
I think it's valid points. And I think that just goes along with that third point about dialogue, the way you go about interacting, with different people. I think you need to express that in your story, as far as not everybody is going to react the way you want to react. If you're talking to somebody and you're conveying, or you're speaking to them something personal, you're just trying to get something off your chest. And then once you're done, it's like you're expecting this certain reaction from them, or you're expecting them to say a certain thing, and they totally went left field, that threw you off. Like, man, I wasn't expecting you to act this way, and it kind of throws that curveball where you don't know how to react back. I feel like you should have to put that in the story as well. Don't always make it so, like, predictable, basically. I know I've seen plenty of different, like, movies or television shows, as we've been talking about through the segment, where I could pretty much predict what the next scene going to be. Like, it's like, come on, man, are we serious right now? Like, you couldn't put a little bit more thought and made this a little bit more, I don't know, creative here, because I already knew that was going to happen. I knew they were going to say that very cliche lines that they're saying and so forth. Come on, man. In the real world, we don't be doing all that. It's sometimes it's really just straightforward. If you're saying something and it seems to be like very coming from a dark place, I mean, you're usually going to get a surprise out of someone. Like, man, I never knew you thought that way, or felt that way about me, or felt that way about this situation. So, Sandy, how you think how important it is to put that kind of range within the dialogue? How important do you think that is?
I think it's critical. Again, if you're looking to persuade your audience, it's critical, because how else would you get that point across? And how else do you show your character is supposed to? I don't know if I want to use the word grow, but the character at the beginning should not be the same as the character at the end. There has to be some ebb and flow there. They should grow, they should advance, or they could get worse, but they shouldn't be the same from the beginning to the end. So I think that's absolutely critical.
Yeah, now that was a hella point that you just mentioned there, Sandy. I think that's really a good point for you guys out there who are aspiring to put your stories together. I'm in total agreement with that. However your character is in the beginning, you want to see some kind of growth, because at the end, it's kind of like, if you get to the end and it seemed like they didn't learn no lesson, there's no progression with this character. It's just like, it is what it is type of, like, attitude being conveyed through the story. By the time you get to the end, it's kind of like, well, I feel like I wasted my time reading this book, man, because I'm thinking there's going to be something else here, and it ain't nothing. You know what I mean? It's pretty much what I thought it was going to be at the beginning. So yeah, I'm in total agreement with that. If you can't build on your character and put some type of different elements, but still stay true to your purpose as far as what that role is for that character, um, yeah, you should go back to the drawing board like we talked from earlier. Especially if you're going with your next writing project. You definitely want to learn from your mistakes. I definitely look at some of my older stuff and was just like, I don't know what I was thinking when I wrote it. It sounded good at the time, sounded real good at the time. But now that I look back at it, I'm like, I definitely could have did better on that. So for you guys out there again that are inspiring to become a writer and put your work out there, just kind of look at it from them lenses as well. That if you don't see growth, just like we're talking about the growth with your character that you're building within your story, if you don't see the growth within yourself as a writer, then you might have to do some readjustments, reconfigure some things, because you definitely want to see that progression from your first book to whatever you put out lately. Like, I'm becoming stronger as a writer.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of clarity, there's a lot of substance, there's a lot of entertainment value when it comes to my books.
So Zeus, when I like that you brought up, being predictable, because I'm the same way. I watch movies, I watch TV shows, and I look to my poor husband. I consider him my poor victim, and I'm like, no, this is gonna happen, and he's like, stop. I go, I'm telling you, this is how this episode is gonna end. And then he's like, all right, so you're a good guesser. I'm like, no, I'm not a good guesser. We're writers, right? Our imagination is limitless. I am positive that when we watch a show against a person who's not as creatively thinking constantly, or doesn't write, or doesn't express themselves the way we do, they may not guess it. And that may be, a good portion of who they're targeting. But I get annoyed when I read a book, and I just read one, and it was a really good book. Again, I'm addicted to books, so I can still see the good writing in it. But there were 4 mysteries in the book. I knew how 2 of them were going to end. And the third one I was kind of on the fence about. And it was like, come on. Because the writing was good, it was worth it for me to continue reading it. But I feel like that's where we are as creative individuals, right? We're going to guess a lot of endings, and it's tough. And if you think of stories in the world, Cinderella has been rewritten how many times, right? But not as Cinderella. It's a love story of a girl who had to sneak out from a very controlling family and meet somebody, and then he had to find her through this. So it's like there's only so many different ways to tell a story. Just do your best to make it as interesting as possible. Don't let me know by page 3 that you're rewriting Romeo and Juliet. Don't go exactly down that poison kind of unrealistic, I kissed her so now I'm poisoned to death at the end. Like it didn't make sense to me at all. And I love Shakespeare. I was like, there could not have been that much poison on the lips. So
Good point. That's a good
but
valid point.
right. And so when I write, and I've talked to other authors, they're like, there are only so many stories in the world, and we're retelling them, or we're putting our spin on them, and and I think that's great. And I think we should all continue to do that, and maybe try to surprise yourself. And, as you're writing it, just kind of let your brain go. And not everybody is Zeus, who can edit every other page. Maybe you look back at it at a month later, and you're like, okay, that was a ridiculous stretch of a surprise. Let me make it a little bit more realistic. Or, my goal is to be a mainstream author, and I know this is what they need to see. And then you have to kind of change it. But, just going back to being an independently published author, I can do whatever the heck I want with my books. I can make it end however I want, and I'm not going to fire myself. I'm going to continue to format and hit publish and put them out there, and you're going to see me at street fairs, and I'm going to convince you with my soul to buy this book, and you're going to love it. And that's that. But it's really your goal. If you want to be on network television, they have a formula you will probably need to follow. They want unique ideas within a certain parameter, because it has to, be welcome to the mainstream.
Very good point. I couldn't have said it any better. just to kind of summarize for you guys out there what we're talking about for the entire segment is if you're looking to put your story out there, don't be afraid. Don't be scared. Don't be nervous. It probably is because it's probably a new venture for you. You probably never put yourself in this predicament or situation where you're going to go about putting it, not only put a story together, but now you're going to publish it for other people to read. But if you stick to your goals, if you stick to your game plan as far as your identity as a writer, what type of writer you're going to be, if you stick to or have the mindset of knowing that you can get better over time, that you don't have to hit the home run right off the bat, you can develop your story over time. It's okay to walk away from a project and come back to it just so that you can get yourself together mentally, maybe generate some more ideas. Pull from personal experience. You don't have to necessarily have to label it exactly how it is in your life. You can be metaphoric. You can change different things. That's the beauty of writing. It's just so many different things, different elements that you can add to it. It's just total freedom when it comes to expressing yourself. Just be passionate about it. You definitely want to try to work so that you can try to get an audience out there. But don't ever remember the reason why you got into writing. You got into it because you have a passion for it. You have a genuine love for it. So show that, encompass that within your writing. Let people get a little sense of who you are as a person. I say it time and time again. Most people who read your books probably don't know you personally. So inject a little bit of yourself into the book so people can get an understanding of who you are as a person. And maybe that will bring the story a lot more to life. And maybe that'll resonate with them a lot more because you're bringing more of like a personal attachment when it comes to your stories. So we're at the tail end of our segment. I definitely want to thank these two remarkable ladies, two remarkable authors. I'm just blessed that I'm able to got to know them, do different projects with. This wouldn't be right if I didn't do another sales pitch here. So let me go ahead and do that right here for Miss Jae Logan. She does the series The Kids That Care books. I am missing one. It's called For the Dogs.
You're missing two, for the record.
Well, technically, I'm missing two, definitely.
Yes.
But she's not hard to find, But definitely check these books out. What I appreciate from you, Jay, when it comes to your books, is the fact that even though they're for children and young adults, I feel like even regular, older people, they can appreciate the message that's being sent in there. It's just written in a way where it doesn't matter what your age is. You can definitely appreciate what is going on in the book. And it's just written in a very in a manner where like it can really like resonate with you deeply. It's coming from a good place. Sometimes when I read certain people's books, I just feel like I don't think they're coming from the right place, which they're going with their story. And that's why I feel like their story's a little off. Sometimes people tend to write about things they may not even totally have an understanding about, so it kind of will reflect that when you read certain people's books. I don't get that when I read yours. And the fact that you were willing to be transparent and talk about the things you were going through in your personal life, again, that's a big thing, whether you want to take credit for that or not, of just putting yourself out there, because it's not easy to talk about these things. So the fact that you were willing to do that and share that with other people who might be going through the same thing, that's what I personally appreciate. And then last but not least, we got to talk about Sandy over here with Gotta Be a Better Way. I can't wait for volume 3 to come out. Stop making us wait, Sandy. Let's get it together here and get this volume 3 out. What I appreciate about you, Sandy, is the fact of how innovative you are. First of all, your poetry really comes off as short stories the way they're written. Sometimes a niche or something that's against poets is that when people read the poetry, they can't really visualize it in their head exactly what it is they're trying to talk about in their poems. But for you, I instantly got that vision in my head, and it played out like a short story in my head. And then the fact that you did the poetry based off the setting of the workplace, I would have never thought in a million years to do any kind of poetry based off that. And I've wrote some weird stuff. You know what I mean? So the fact that you was able to take something like that, and I don't see how anybody can resonate with this, because almost everybody on the planet works. So there's no way you're not going to read this and really appreciate her thoughts and her perspectives on different aspects of the workplace and these different types of emotions that you could feel while you're on the workplace. So this has got to be a better way. Part 1, part 2, part 3 is coming, y'all. I don't know when, but it's coming, man. Just be patient. And then we got the Kids That Care book series by Jae Logan. And then, yes, guys, I'm going to go ahead. I usually don't do this, but I'm going to go ahead and pitch this fool over here. What's his name here? Zeus Cruz. I'm going to go ahead and pitch him a little bit. This is my newest book, Dimensions. And then the previous book I got is called Mixtures. It's almost like a 2-part series. It just runs with the same format of a lot of short stories. I cover all different genres: science fiction, horror, fantasy, mythology. So, I mean, come on, man. I mean, you can show me some love too a little bit out there. Go ahead, grab the books. All these books are available on Amazon. So go to Amazon. I know you got some leftover money from the holidays. This is the perfect thing to spend it on. All right? I know you got a few days off before we go into the new year. Now you got all this time to go ahead and read all these great books. I definitely recommend it. Jerry, Sandy, you're amazing authors. Much blessings to both of you. I know you got a lot of things going on. Just real quick, if you want to give the viewers a little snippet of what's going on for 2025, we'll start with you, Sandy.
Oh, what's not going on?
Yeah, I'll put you on the spot.
I'm still.
Go ahead and promote yourselves. What we got going on for 2025?
So for 2025, like you said, I'm working on volume 3 of Gotta Be a Better Way. I think I mentioned this to you before. My editor has challenged me to make that volume strictly positive, nothing negative. So we'll see how that works out. That should be available by June, if not before. I'm also working on. I'm still working on my screenplay.
Awesome.
That's gonna take a minute. That's probably gonna go into 2026. We'll see. And what else? Oh, and I picked up photography. So you know how you asked, what did you get? I got myself. I'm teaching myself photography. So that'll be another element. That's what I have going on in 2020.
All right.
That's
awesome.
Yes.
Nice. All right. So what's going on with you, Jack?
So we are doing another Central Jersey Book Festival for 2025. I believe the date is November 15th. And I'm very excited about that. Invitations will go out to the authors who were there last year first, and then we'll open it up to additional authors. We definitely have room for, we believe, at least another 12 authors. So I hope it grows. I am working on a children's book. I'm not sure if it will come out in 2025 because my illustrator is in college. And so we're working on her breaks to get through it. And I really want to focus on the 2 young adult novels that I have started. So that might be a late 2025 release or early 2026. We'll see just how much time I'm able to throw myself into it. But I have a list of book festivals that I am going to apply for this year. So hopefully you will see me at many events this year, and I will keep my calendar updated. And as soon as something's about to release, Zeus, you're one of my first calls, so you can get me on your show. And
all right, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, I I don't want to be pushy and whatnot. I keep putting out reminders and whatnot. All I'm asking is, I think I told Sandy this before too. All I ask is that when y'all make it big, don't forget us little people. All right, don't forget about good old Zeus down here. Don't forget. I want to go to the premieres. I want to go to everything. I want front row seats. I want free VIP passes in the backstage. I want all that. If I can, if it ain't too much to ask, because I'm just trying to catch up with you guys. Definitely get encouraged by y'all. I don't know if y'all probably have these moments where it's like, why am I doing this? I don't know if I could do this next project. Stuff's getting a little overwhelming. Got a lot of things going on here. And then next thing you know, I see you guys uploading something on social media, or we end up talking, and you just let me know, like, hey, I'm working on this and I'm working on that. And I'm just like, man, if they keep the octopus hands out and they're constantly doing things all the time, what is my excuse? Poor little old Zeus, get over yourself. You know what I mean? Take some time to rest. Come the next day, go back at it again. You know what I mean? So I definitely appreciate y'all. Huh? Keep up with me?
Trying to keep
Nah, I'm trying to keep up with y'all. Y'all
right.
got
We're
everything
just
going on.
writing. We're just writing. You're like a whole social media persona.
Nah,
Yes.
I'm just Zeus over here, little old Zeus.
We get to do our job in our pajamas, just chilling at the keyboard,
Uh, yeah, something like that. Something like that. Yeah, a little something here and there. But anyway, I appreciate you coming on the show. I know you guys are busy. I know the holiday season gets a little hectic. I just appreciate y'all taking time out to come with this segment. Our first ever episode of Views from the Literary Verse. Guys, there's more to come. Again, we had Sandrea Flowers, aka Sandy. We had Miss Jae Logan on the show. Definitely appreciate y'all. Once again, much blessings to both of y'all. I definitely want to see you guys succeed. You guys are amazing. Keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate you guys viewing in. I hope you took in a lot. We presented a lot. And the only thing left to say is I guess we'll check you later. Appreciate you tuning in.
Have a happy new year.